Summer by Vivaldi. You can do this.
Well, thank you for being in Chicago on this snowing night. It's our great pleasure to have you here. Just as by way of a quick introduction, for those who don't know, Portrait of a Lady on Fire won the Best Screenplay Award at the Cannes Film Festival as well as the queer film. And as we were standing by the side as the credits were rolling and you all were applauding, she said, "This is a film for Chicago." And I agree. The film won the Gold Hugo for the Best Film at the Chicago International Film Festival last October, as well as the Silver Queer Q Hugo. So we're happy to have you.
Sorry that I couldn't be there at the time, but that's why I came here, you know. I'm grateful. I felt the love, even if I was far away.
I don't usually do this, but I'm actually going to start with the end. One reason is that I read that it actually was the first kind of image that came to you from the film. But also, I think, I love the way that your films end in general, which isn't often the case. The endings are always filled with the complexity, the ambiguity, and I think even like more emotion, or it's rising to the emotion that we feel throughout the film. And I think as a screenwriter of your own work, it's an interesting place to start. So I was wondering if you could talk about starting with the ending and also your process in writing Portrait of the Empire.
Well, it's my fourth film, so I've learned, that you should really love the first 30 seconds of the film, and also the ending as a filmmaker, because that's basically what you're going to see of your film for the rest of your life. Because you enter the room and you check the sound. And even though I've learned this is a very bad film for the sound checking, because it's basically... So I have to wait to see that boat. Okay, we go. And then you have to have the ending, because I've been sitting through this. So I tried to cut the best ending possible for myself. No, stop. Let's stop with the jokes. We'll come back to the jokes. But it's... you know, I think endings of the film are not about, and especially with this one, but it's the case with all films I've made. I think of them not as the end of the story, and not even as the end, not as the end of the journey for the characters, but as saying goodbye. It's about you saying goodbye to a film, and the film saying goodbye to you. So that's basically what this last shot is about. And the film has this weird ending, because it has three endings. And that is because of this thing that I had this idea in mind for the film since the beginning. That's the first thing that came up to me, that was like, oh, a woman looking at another woman, listening to the music that you talked about, and her discovering it for the first time, but being emotional about it and going and this putting her into this whole emotional journey about this story, and also about how music and art help us. It consoles about our lost love, and also our love educates us to art, and how this is all cinema, and it envelops itself being cinema. At some point, it's not about Marianne looking at Eloise, it's about you being in this theater seat, and her being in this theater seat, and her listening to art, watching art, and you being in that same position. And it's basically room for yourself, for your own love story, and also your own love story with cinema, and that's what I'm looking for. So basically, you know, the film could end with page 28. That's where the film ends. Usually that's where the credits would roll. But no, there's three endings, because there's one, there's an ending for the characters, and there's an ending for the film, and the experience that the film is for you as an audience, and also for me as a filmmaker.
I love the idea that it ties back into the idea of memory that you're visiting earlier in the film. I mean, the scene in which about how they're going to remember falling in love.
It's their last night.
It's their last night.
But it's a close thing, the first night and the last night.
And this idea that the love story is as much constructed through the memory of those emotions and lives on in that way. And so we're remembering, of course, the scene in which we first hear Summer, Vivaldi's Summer, but they're both also remembering at that same moment.
And it's about sharing the emotion and the experience of the character as they go through the steps. It's about basic equality, and you know, when I'm being asked about the female gaze and everything, this is what the female gaze is. It's about what is not objectifying somebody. It's not filming somebody taking a shirt off. It's about, do you share the experience of the character, and are you equal with the character? And you go through the steps as you don't know what's going to happen before it's going to happen. Sharing that experience, I got lost. I had a drink. Thank you. I'm going for emotional Q&A, if you agree with this. So do you want an anecdote about that scene? Because I'm handing out anecdotes. This is the end of my tour. So I'm saying things that I never said to anyone. This is one of the most beautiful rooms I have seen, and I must say I stepped in, and I watched you guys watching this. I stepped in during the scene when she says, well, I didn't know you were an art critic, and she said, well, I didn't know you were a painter, and I heard you laugh, and also I heard you being silent, and I liked you. Both as individuals being silent and as a crowd being together silent. So do you want to have a trivia about that scene? Okay. That scene wasn't in the script. It's the scene when she says, I will remember when you blah 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 fell asleep in the kitchen. That scene wasn't in the script. It was a scene that I wrote for the last round of casting. So it was the second time that Noémie Merlon was going to exchange lines with Adele, and I basically knew it was her, but she didn't know at all. And I thought, oh, I have to write a scene that would be like such an emotional ride for both of them, and that also they would both discover, because I'm always handing the script to every actor that goes to the casting, because that's also another power dynamic. They know. They don't have just this paper where they're like 2 or 3 infos about the characters. They know about the whole intellectual journey of the film, and that's what they're trying to compete for. So that they would both discover this scene. And so we did 2 other scenes of the film, and then this one came up, and they had the paper, and they read it, and I shot this, and I was like, so 2 things. First, this girl is getting the part, and second, that scene is going to be in the film. No, you don't have to. I mean, it's done anyway. I don't need your approval.
So going back to the gaze,
Yeah.
You know, in some ways I think of the artist in the 18th century, particularly the portrait artist, as maybe the equivalent of the 21st century filmmaker, in terms of how do you represent, or you know, through images represent people, and you know, through the gaze, their gaze at their subject, they're painting the portrait, but also choosing how they represent them in terms of social hierarchy or other types of dynamics. And so, did you always know, like from the start too, that that character was going to be an artist or the portrait painter?
Yes. I wanted to link both a love dialogue and a creative dialogue, and to unveil new power dynamics within a love relationship, but also within a model and artist relationship, or muse and artist. relationship, and I got lost again.
The artist is the portrait.
Yeah.
Painter.
Yes. And I didn't pick painting as a metaphor for cinema. Otherwise, I would have gone for cinema. It's just that I wanted to show an artist at work, and not as in a biopic dynamic, where you would look at their journey, their destiny, the fact that they made it in this hard world. It's a very liberal narrative that I don't agree with, especially for looking at women artists who weren't given the opportunity, the education. So fuck the strong woman portrait. But really wanted to show an artist at work on a specific piece with the question that she's going to ask herself, and that she's going to be asked about who she's looking at, because there's two portraits, as you're going to notice. And I was thinking, okay, what would be showing really somebody working, and painting seems really cinematic, and of course, in representing somebody, the issue of cinema and looking at somebody is within. But it's just that, if you pick literature, for instance, you would see somebody. So that's 18th century. That's depressing. That's bad sound design. Or you would have. And I really wanted something to be organic, physical, and also a very intellectual process that we could all participate into, not voiceover shit, really like the color, the artisticism of that, the depth of that, of those questions.
Yeah, and the process is very much represented as well. And I know that there's a reason why then, I'm going to go back to the setting of the film, the period, and this is your first period film. Your three previous ones have all been contemporary settings. And so I know this relates to the artist, but why the 18th century as the setting of the film?
Well, mostly for a matter of history of art, because it was a moment where there was a lot of women painters. There were hundreds of them. Making careers, also thanks to the fashion of portrait, because it was the rise of the bourgeoisie, so it wasn't just the monarchy who could be represented, but also kind of anyone. And so there was a lot of work for painters, and so women, they were allowed to make portraits, they were also allowed to make flowers and animals. And so that also explained that it was the rise of the Lumière, it was before French Revolution, the women were given more opportunities, so I felt that was the perfect setting to actually invent a painter that would be sociologically true to the time, that would actually exist. And also, to talk about the fact that we have always being told that women's opportunity and women's rights in general, I'm not only talking about the fact that we could be artists. I mean, that's very privileged life. I mean, we're talking about the fact that we get the right to do whatever we want with our bodies and everything. That would be linear progress. And this, looking at this particular time frame, things tells you that it's wrong. There's always this opportunity. It cycles. There's like a rise and then there's backlash, a rise and backlash, and they get erased from our history so that we would not even know that this existed, so that we would basically feel always lonely and pioneers. And that's an isolation program. So I also wanted to and we're going through kind of the same things,
Well, I was also thinking that Little Women is playing in the theater next door, also a period film that depicts this kind of insular women's world. I mean, a very different film, but interesting to think about how this world of women set in a period setting is very much, not only, I guess, pertinent today, but very much in dialogue with what's happening right now as well.
Yes. Because we're going through a moment where there's an opportunity for women filmmakers, and globally also a cultural shift regarding women's voices. And we feel the resistance, and we feel the backlash, and we go through some strong hostility. So it's kind of the same. So it's a good thing, to get transmitted those histories. And that's why I went for the period piece. I have no particular taste for period piece, and I didn't want to go for my period piece. I just consider it to be the same job. Cinema is always a reconstitution. Ken Loach, he shows us the car that people drive. I mean, it's not because it's kind of embedded in reality, in contemporary Britain, States or France, that it's not all artistic choices. So to me it was the same job, and the idea is like a lot of contemporary film, they don't look contemporary, you know? So it's not about what you're looking at, it's how you're looking at things. And there was even like a cool challenge in the fact that doing a period piece but was like a danger to make this dusty thing or legit cinema, and it put me in a tension where I was like, this has to be the most contemporary object, the most experimental prototype way of telling a story.
And it feels completely contemporary, right?
Wow.
I think we're going to open it up to the audience, so as you think of your questions and come up, I think, to the front over here. I'm going to ask one more about working with your cinematographer who you've worked with on all 4 films, and in particular...
No, it's a new one.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
But creating the look of the film, which one is beautiful, but again, it's kind of this contrast between feeling very contemporary and also kind of having the period feel with the candlelight lighting and the fire.
Well, we dedicated a lot of time to the light, and you know, that's what makes it beautiful, even though it's a word that covers a lot of reality, but and it's a very accurate, sharp, engaged lighting. Our first decision was to shoot digital and not 35 millimeters. Little Women is shot 35 millimeters, for instance. And I tried both, and I really had no doubt I really wanted to go digital because it was about giving back to these women, their presence, their bodies, so it was also about the rush of blood to the cheek. And the dynamic of the digital really gave to their skins, their carnation, this thing, this very dynamic, urgent thing. Still, we had to create this whole world, and we decided, you know, but most of the challenges of the period piece is about the candle. The candle. You could definitely look at all period pieces and just make a hierarchy, like, are the candles in the frame? Are they out of the frame? Are the candles on the big stick? Is somebody holding the candles? Are the candles actually lighting the set, like, you know, barreling them? So they created these optics to actually have the great lighting, or as we did, are the candles like useless? The whole world, the whole room you can't move to, like, I swear, just for instance, like when they sleep at night, when Eloise sleeps, and then Marianne goes to get her stuff to write to Joe in secret. It's all like she's just carrying this tiny candle. It was a whole, we couldn't move in that room. It's basically rope light everywhere. And there's also a guy, a Persian, like a guy doing, each time she moves, she's followed by somebody with a light. You know, it's crazy. The light would go in the front of the cat. You know, it's not the sound, it would be the light. It was crazy, and you know, it's the difficulty, because I trust, we talk a lot with the DP, but then I trust, like, I'm not there to check, like, what I'm gonna do with the lighting. So it means I'm basically waiting for hours, because cinema is about time. And that's a strong choice, because, you know, you will have less time with your actors. It's gonna be, and it's well, I'm a heavy smoker, so I can take the weight. Won't be around very long, but blame it on beauty.
Great. Well, we'd love to take the first question from the audience.
Having like this new memory of Vivaldi, and the film is about that. And you know, writing the film, because this version that I chose is a very specific version. It goes very fast. That's why I chose it, because otherwise it could be 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I know you're patient and she's really good, but it has to. So I got a very strong, rapid one. And also, they actually, because Vivaldi wrote this for a special violin that is called tromba marina, and that is this very aggressive, and that then disappeared, and they rebuilt the violin for that version, so that it's really, I mean, it was like it was supposed to be. And also, I like it had been out like 30 years before, so it's like something that was a trend at the time, and I was looking for something like that, you know. And so writing, I didn't use that version, I used the version by Max Richter, which is the composer, for instance, of the TV show here that works really well, like all the people who disappear. You know, the cop who is like the ex of Jennifer Aniston, the cop who's guilty because his wife didn't disappear when he was fucking somebody else. What's the name of that show? The Leftovers. So Max Richter did the whole music for that, so, you know, and he did this thing called, he revisited Four Seasons by Vivaldi in a very also electronic way. And I listened to Summer, it's a 5-minute track, and it's definitely different, and it's really about this idea of that when you know something that much, if you change it a little bit by the interpretation or by the visual that you put with it, it's not about this tune, it's about the memory of this tune.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Next question.
Hi. First I wanted to thank you for always making your films with female cast and crew members.
I don't understand why people don't do that. It's so interesting and fun and new. I recommend it.
As a career female filmmaker, it's very inspiring to see stuff. My question is about costume. I know this being your first period film that you had a bit more leeway and then you all kind of got to construct that more. So I just wanted to hear more about your process as well as the color selection for all the characters.
Well, the main idea around the costume was to have one costume per character and not go with the fashion défilé, the mundanity of the costume, the performance of the film being in costume, because every film is in costume. And the fun part was that we could actually we could craft this from scratch. And if you choose one costume per character, you're going to have also more money, more time to craft that costume. You're not going to rent something that has been in the Février, for instance. They made those costumes, they didn't rent them. But I don't know, I'm not going to make a list. And so then it was working with the costume designers. I had a few obsessions. My main obsession was that Marianne would have pockets, which was accurate. It is not anachronistic, it's not me being like modern, it's very subtle. Pockets then disappeared from our dressings in the 19th century that ripped off a lot of rights from women that we had gained before, and we still didn't get those pocket back. So if you want to be an activist of pocket, please join. Pockets for everyone. And also I was kind of obsessed with the materials, didn't want to have the silky dress, that heavy materials, cotton, linen, and that would also shape the silhouette of the characters, and also obviously put the actors in a very other position with their bodies, especially with the walks, like this is really heavy, and Noemi was like, the poor girl, I mean, as she plunges in the sea, scene 2, she had to be like wet for 3 scenes, which seems not a lot, but it's like a lot of takes because she's walking like to the castle. So, and this was really, really heavy, and I liked the fact that you could invest your body in a different way. The only thing that we didn't do, because we're not masochistic, is like have those corsets really tight. They could breathe, like I don't want anybody to suffer. And then the color, the only thing that I wanted was the dress to be green, that was written in the script. Otherwise, it's all a pick that we did with the costume designer. There's no symbol at all. It's about organic beauty color, like it's about choosing the colors. And we went for a kind of a black thing, for a blue thing, for Eloise was getting out of convent, and was also mourning a sister, and we kind of felt about her with a mother. Thanks.
Next question? This is the last question.
Sorry, I'm making very long answers. I hope it answers your future questions.
A linguistic question. I noticed that the two characters always refer to them to each other with the formal "u," not the as familiar "tu." So I just was wondering why.
Well, I mean, yeah, they go two times. It's in that scene that wasn't supposed to be in the film, as you know. She said, "Don't sleep, don't sleep," and then there's "turn around," which are both imperative forms, so we go to more easily. Like, and the "vous" was formal, and the time was formal. And also, I had a lot of, to me it was like the only thing that would set the film back in times regarding manners. Otherwise, as we are looking at these women at their intimacy, which means their solitude, otherwise they have to, if there were men, for instance, in the room, they would have to perform femininity. So as we're sharing their loneliness, we're sharing like everything they can go. You know, we're sharing like, smoking a pipe, being just themselves. I got lost. No, I'm gonna end this. Because what was I saying?
Without the men around, they didn't have to perform, but
yes,
then they were smoking the pipe.
Yeah, but what was the thing before? When was I trying to? Oh, the two versus the group, right? I'm very jet lagged. And I liked the distance. That formal distance to me was the most was the thing from the past. And rely on that also allowed me not to go too literature-ish with the dialogue. You know, I wanted to keep their language like sharp and sincere, and that "vous" made it like all the, and also it is very sexy.
So please help spread the word. It comes out in Chicago here at the Music Box on February 21st. Thank you to Neon for sharing this film with us. Congratulations to them on Parasite. And thank you to the Music Box for hosting, and of course thank you, Céline, for joining us here in Chicago.